I'm excited for Tucker, hearing about you going on this writing journey and this passion project, because I remember when I met Tucker on Semester at Sea, sometimes we would, in certain countries we're at, would grab some cigars, and when the boat hit the ocean, or the ship, I should say, we would be on the little, like, I don't know, patio, balcony, deck area, and would smoke cigars. I'm pretty sure you were there. There's always random people smoking, and you would talk about writing. You'd always talk about writing, and especially comic books. So I believe I've seen a couple social posts, but some comic book stuff still going on with you?
Yeah, dude. I feel like I always have a sci-fi book in me. Yeah, I have started something called the Titan Project like 9 times and just haven't gotten it off the ground. I lose steam with fiction, man. Like when you have to make it up, like I get excited for like a page, and then it's just like it feels like one of those yoga moves that are difficult. Like I can't do tree pose, right? And it's really difficult to sit in tree pose for too long, and you're just like you're forcing yourself, and it's just not happening. That's what it feels like with that. When I write nonfiction stories, I feel like I'm the most agile yogi of all time, and I could do anything for 40 minutes or whatever. So it's just, but yeah, I don't know. I still love. I have a great comic book shop here in Tuscaloosa. I go to often. And I still read comics. I love sci-fi and fantasy. Love that show on Netflix, The Old Guard. I don't know if you saw that. Oh, it's got Charlize Theron in it. She's like this warrior who's like 1,000. No, wait, she's much older than that, like 10,000 years old or something. Like they can't die. I don't know. It's a cool Netflix. If you like sci-fi fantasy, check it out. But
someone just told me about that last week. Actually, I remember they dropped Charlize's name. But yeah, I hear it's amazing. But I don't know. I'm more of a non-fiction guy. Like if I read, it's usually non-fiction. But I every once in a while drop fiction in there.
Same.
But man, it's exciting. I'm just glad you're going for your dream. I recently quit my job about a month ago. I had
Oh, really? That's exciting.
Yeah, I worked my way up to make like over 90,000 a year, and it was great. And then as soon as I got it, I quit because I was just not happy, man. And I did it for years, design and UI UX, and I was like, you know what, I'm just gonna go for it. You know, we're all gonna be old one day. It's gonna be hard. It gets harder and harder as you get older to go for things, and especially falling in love and moving on with life. And hell yeah, man, I'm excited for you.
Well, good for you for quitting the job that doesn't make you happy. I like that.
Woo! Scary. Hey, there's a pandemic. Let's quit my job.
Going back to following your dreams, and that's awesome, man. And I actually have my associates was in journalism, and actually my minor is in journalism, and I love writing. I always thought, someday I do want to write a book, but I do feel like you have to experience multiple cultures to be able to get on that platform where you can feel comfortable writing a book, especially on stuff that you don't really know about.
I disagree. Well, you should know about it, but I disagree. I think anyone could write. Everyone has imagination. Everyone has their unique experience.
Right. But I don't know. I feel like if I, traveled like you and Jay have traveled, it would give me more exposure, which is more inspiration, more kind of knowledge and this type of thing to be able to write on a broader spectrum. I mean, if that makes sense at all.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense to me. I know what you're saying. I think when you get I guess that's what draws me to nonfiction, is because the experiences / subjects kind of are my material, right? And so, which I think in fiction you're doing on some level. I mean, I don't know, we could get into the debate of that, but I think I hear you with going. For me, I get a kick of energy when I go somewhere and experience something, even if it's, and I can write about it. Like, I'm trying to think of, for example, like, I wrote about something that was much more, I wrote about like one of those insulin prices. I interviewed a woman that I found on Twitter named Sarah, probably shouldn't say her full name. Oh, well, but her name's Sarah. And she had a lot of difficulty affording insulin for years until Iowa passed the Medicaid for all, and she fell into that bracket. And she had a really hard life and had a hard time getting insulin, etc. But like, hearing her, like, I read all these news stories about the insulin stuff, but I didn't really get a kick and energy of it until I talked to her and got her story over the phone. And I mean, that wasn't even the same as or even thinking about this, I'm writing this thing about sheep and health insurance. It's a long story, but yeah, my mom in 1995, I'm trying to figure out if this is a true story, but everybody in Wyoming that I talked to said that my mom found an advertisement, or one of her friends did, in this magazine called Wool Growers, that said if you buy X amount of sheep, you'll get health insurance. And my mom in 1995 was divorcing my dad and didn't have health insurance that she could afford for herself to pay for her insulin at the time, and me and my sister, who were young little kids. And so the way the story goes is, if she bought these sheep, she would get covered by this program or whatever for health insurance until she could figure something else out. And so she did that. She bought like 60-something sheep and got them from North Dakota. I know that. And I found her name in one of the records of the Farm Bureau, but I have not found anything yet that has said that she got like a money for exchange for the wool of the sheep. But I have not found anything that is explicitly said that she got health insurance with it. And a lot of people think it was a special federal program that was just kind of a flash thing or whatever. But like hanging out with these people and talking to these like sheep people, like I emailed someone yesterday with an email that said @sheepusa.com.
See, I told you it was interesting. You just told us about sheep and health insurance.
Yeah.
That's fucking crazy.
Yeah. And so like, I mean, when I hear that there are these passionate people that care about sheep and stuff, like I can write about that. I feel like, I mean, I'm still gathering information about all this stuff, but I can, and I would love to go hang out with herders and ranchers in the USA, which is kind of a dying thing because they hate people who come into it and just use the outdoors for recreation when they're trying to still sell sheep. And how profitable is that still? I don't know. It still kind of is, still isn't. Like, I don't know. It's definitely not what it was in like the 60s and 50s and all that. But.
Can I retract one of my earlier statements on the podcast where I said if you sit down at a bar and they're like, I'm an insurance salesperson, you wouldn't want to talk to them? Because what if they have a connection to sheep? They're like, I'm in charge of the sheep peddle program. Like, what? Sheep and insurance?
How many sheep you need, brother?
Yeah.
I'll take 60.
If you get 60 sheep, you got health insurance. Done. Yeah. It's like, I'm trying to see if I find that fact, it'll be, I think it's true. It's just, I want to see if I can find an absolute fact. But so I don't know, going back to what you're saying. Yeah. I don't know. I think so I need stuff like that to kind of, because I couldn't make that up. I don't know. Like if I just sat here and thought about it, or if I made it up, it wouldn't sound real. I don't know.
Yeah, totally, man. So I gotta retract back to the insulin price spike. Is that in this country alone? Did you ever do any research outside of this country to see? Because I've read some things here and there that, you know, the insulin prices here are ridiculous, but you can go down to Mexico or something and buy it.
Yeah. That's the way some of these news stories, like there was they called it this is probably untasteful hashtag, but they called it a hashtag caravan to Canada. And so like they took a caravan. This was when the big caravan was a big issue.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Of coming from Mexico, and they took a caravan to Canada to buy insulin because you can buy the same vials for $20. Even as an American, you can walk into a pharmacy in Canada and buy the same vials that are selling for like $300 for $20. I interviewed a guy here in Alabama. He runs a great music venue here in Birmingham. He's a type 1 diabetic, and he orders his insulin from Canada. It's cheaper for him to order it online and have it shipped in an ice box or some kind of box that keeps it cold. He called it an ice box. It shows up at his front door. And he orders insulin at a time. It was cheaper for him to do that than to do any kind of, he also was like in a band, so he didn't have like traditional health insurance or couldn't afford it. So it's just cheaper for him to do that. Definitely there were, if you Google it, you can find NBC stories on that. I talked to people in the UK that said it was much cheaper and they were trying to figure out why the US. It's a long story of why it is, just like the pharmaceutical companies. But the pharmaceutical companies will say it's the insurance companies' fault and then vice versa. And so it just turns into this it just goes back to the U.S. healthcare system with a lot. And it's not just insulin, too. I think a lot of prescription essential drugs and medicine is kind of in that same boat of really high prices that are, it was once cheap and now it's not. So it's just kind of, it's a weird thing. I don't know. So, but definitely I've heard, I mean, it's cheaper almost everywhere else on the planet except for here, which is strange. So
sounds about right, AJ.
My dad, a few years ago, he went to Mexico to get all his dental work done.
Yeah. Wow, really?
Yeah, because he had like dentures, and then he's on the sailboat trip now in the Caribbean, but he was like, I just wanted to get like fake teeth put in or whatever.
Right.
And he looked here and he's like, it's just impossible for me to get it here. So he went down there and got it done.
Dude, my wife's family are from San Diego, and their dentist is in TJ. You know, that's where they go because it's so much fucking cheaper, and it's like literally 30-minute drive for them.
Yeah.
Crazy.
That is not. I mean, I don't know. It's I don't know.
Interesting situation too. I was doing a little bit of reading in the Postal Service lack of funding and halting of funding and things like that going on right now. But one of the articles I read, they're mentioning the fact that the United States Postal Service is about 3 weeks behind right now. And so people getting their insulin, getting their medication that's delivered through that program are there's major delays right now.
Are they ever not behind?
Yeah, well, I mean, from what I read, they're like billions of dollars in debt.
I'm
so,
sure.
Yeah, they're struggling for sure. But I mean, people are trying to get their insulin. Damn, I can't even imagine.
Yeah, you can't live very long without it. Like if you're type 1, which is about 1.5 million and 1.8, give or take, Americans with that condition. So and a lot of type 2 people, about 7 million type 2 folks need insulin too. So
now, I don't know if you want to go into this, but I read a blurb on your blog, I just like a snippet, and it was talking about something about your mom had diabetes, and you for your whole childhood believed it was a certain type of diabetes or something like that, and then you later learned it was something different.
Yeah. It's like so that's kind of what the book's about. In a nutshell, it's about how my mom died from type 1 diabetes, or from complications of type 1 diabetes, and why that's a different story than the one I knew growing up. So like I always knew she had type 1 diabetes, and she had really bad complications that she had for the last like 8 years of her life, basically. Arguably 9 or 10 years. She struggled with like common complications that happen to type 1 folks, like having 2 amputee, part below the knee, paralyzed stomach, bad circulation, like that your body's unable to heal sores and stuff like that. So she had like a full gamut, and she spent probably the last 5 years of life, she probably spent more time in the hospital than she did anywhere else. So it was a tough deal. And I was really young. This kind of started when I was like 16 or whatever, and went until I was 22. And I think when I started kind of writing more about this insulin stuff, and it started out as like I wrote a really small essay or something about the history of the pancreas, like I wanted to know why. I just started with a simple question. I want to know why my mom's pancreas why it killed her, essentially, because what your pancreas is what creates insulin in your body, right? And it's only about 2% of the cells in your pancreas, but those 2% for some reason just get destroyed by your body. It's an autoimmune system or autoimmune disease that happens, and it just happens for no reason. It's hereditary, but it is unexplainable exactly why it happens. Some people think it's an environmental, that's maybe true, but it's still not quite conclusive. So I wanted to know, so I told a quick history of what humans knew about the pancreas leading up to from when they first like started naming the pancreas to the modern. And I was like, I went to Indianapolis last year to hang out with these insulin activists who were trying to push Eli Lilly, who's the big company who makes insulin. They were trying to push, these activists were trying to push the prices down or protest and that kind of thing, or they're having a big meeting in Indianapolis. And I hung out with them, and I met several type 1 folks who were above 50 years old, and they totally looked fine. They didn't have any complications. So I started wondering why my mom died when she was 49, and she did not look anything like these. She was in a wheelchair. She was like bed bound. She had lots of problems health-wise, and she needed lots of different medications and drugs, all this stuff to stay alive. And these people are running like marathons and stuff. And I was like, why is that? And so like I started looking more into it. And so the book kind of retells this discovery.